So what we have here is the MS500i with the West Coast saw clutch cover, a 24-inch tsumara bar. I run Oregon EXL chains, the West Coast saw 3-point felling dogs. I have a Delete decomp by Blue saws, and I've got the MaxFlow air filter kit on this saw. We also have the West Coast saw faller suspension kit located inside, which was this spring up here, the spring inside of this whole portion here. You can kind of see it right here. And there was some rubber grommets in there that were replaced that kind of just tightened this thing up. That way when you're dogging into it, it's not as flimsy. Really cool options that aren't necessary, but I like them for what I do. So hey guys, I'm Jack, and you are watching Log Cabin Firewood. On today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about how I prep my saws before I go out in the woods to get cutting. We're going to go over a little bit of how I sharpen the chains, the raker dressing, and what I do with the air compressor to clean everything out. And we're also going to put something new onto the 044. So let's get to it. So I just got this really awesome toolbox type thing. This was my Black Friday buy. I ended up picking this up for $3.10, I think it was, with tax. But I had so many like Lowe's gift cards sitting around with like $8, $10, $100, $2. I had like a stack of gift cards, like literally 3 inches tall, that I never used, and I was able to get this for $77, so it was a no-brainer. I needed some more workspace, and I like that this has a wood top, and it's got, you know, the easy close drawers. Like once you put it in there, it closes by itself. Super cool. I'm going to go through and sharpen this chain, and right there's my gold link. So that is where we will start. And then I'm going to dress the rakers on this and tear this thing apart, blow it out, clean it out, fill it up with gas and bar oil, and then I'm going to store it because in the next couple days we're going to get over to that job and start taking trees down. So what I use is the West Coast saw 3/8 depth file plate, and the way you use this, you got 25 thousandths, 35 thousandths, 45 thousandths, and then 50 plus, I believe it is. I go on 35 thousandths, which is right here, and you could see. So when I'm on that tooth, I would obviously be on the outer one, and then when I come over to here, I would go to that one. And they're actually pretty good. Yeah, I mean they're right at 25, and they're a little bit lower. They're actually right at 35 thousandths. I did this last time I sharpened this. But the reason I prefer the West Coast saw style raker gauge over like the one that would sit over the whole bar, this one here actually goes by each tooth. So I mean it's resting on here, and it's resting on the tip of your cutter. So this will actually set your depth plates to each cutter. There's a myth about people saying, oh, you got to stroke this thing or grind this thing, you know, 3 even strokes. No, you grind this cutter until it's sharp. It doesn't matter if this cutter's all the way down to here and this is a full cutter. As long as your depth plates are set to each cutter, the saw's not going to sit there and cut big circles. That's why it's important to use one of these over the other depth plate guides that I've seen. Like, you know, they will go off of like, I think 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 teeth altogether. I like this because it singles them out and makes them, you know, perfect for each tooth. So since the rakers are good on this, we're going to go ahead and tear this bar off, pull the clutch cover off, and I'm going to go blow this whole saw out and fuel it up, make sure she's good to go, and then we're going to tackle something on the 044. So another thing people often overlook are these oiler holes on their bar. Like you see, this side is completely jammed up. You can also use this West Coast saw raker gauge to clean your rail out. And you see all that's coming out of there? You got to make sure this stuff's cleaned out, that way your chain is getting lubricated properly. I'll also take the blower once I build up some air pressure. You can probably hear the air compressor in the background building air. But I mean, look at that. That's how much gunk is in there. And I want to say I probably ran 3 tanks of fuel through this saw so far. And that's how much gunk is in here. And you can just take this, kind of clean that off, flip it over, go to town. It's a nice clean edge if there's any burnt bar oil on here. But if you're burning bar oil on your saw, or if you're burning bar oil on your bar, your saw chain's not sharp. Take that thing back into your shop or wherever you go and sharpen it. So I previously had my bar turned upside down, and as you guys know, they do cut faster if you have it right side up. So we're going to go ahead and put it right side up this time. And what I like to do is get the chain started on the bar like so. And then I always grab it from back here after I get it on the nose, and then I'm holding it, that way it's on here. And then we'll see if I can get it on here since I've got a bunch of burrs on my gloves. Get it started on that rear sprocket and then just set it on there and let it hang. And then what I like to do is just tighten this up. Make sure your teeth are getting started back here, that way everything lines up. I get it started until the chain hits the bottom of the bar, like that. Then I put my clutch cover back on and I just hand tighten everything, and then we'll go through and tighten this up a little bit more. So I've got everything hand tight. I run the bar, or I run the chain just a little bit to make sure it's still working, and then you want to pick the nose of the bar up, and then I pull the chain down, and then I go back to the tightener, the tensioner, and I do that. As soon as it touches, that's about where I want it. I tighten my front nut first. I don't know why, but that's just what I've always done. And I just snug these up. And then I ensure that it still moves freely, which it does. So we're good to go. Here's one saw done, other than fueling it up and oiling it up. So while I'm here filling this up, one of the other things I'm going to mention, there's a fuel filter inside this tank. I have never changed it on this saw, so I'm probably going to order a couple here soon. And there's also a filter on the bar oil side. I've never changed it either, so I'm going to make sure I get both of these filters and have them on stock. That way this winter, when I'm not cutting so much wood, because I do most of my cutting in the spring and the summer, I mean, that's kind of like bass-ackwards from what a lot of people do. But yeah, that's just, you know, one of those things, like a preventative maintenance type deal that I will do here shortly. I can't wait for this thing to cut so much faster with the bar facing the right direction. So there's one saw done. We'll go ahead and put it back on the rack here. And that's where I store my 500i, my MS250, and the OG, the Stihl 044. We're actually going to get this one down and do a little bit of maintenancing and upgrading on this one. I just noticed the boiler kick on, so I wanted to come out here and see what it's doing. We're at 178 degrees, and this should be a pulse. So what the pulse does is it kicks on every 20 minutes, and it runs until I get a temperature inside of my reaction chamber of, I believe I got it set at 290 degrees. That way it just keeps a good coal bed going, because I am burning like a bunch of maple right now, and it is kind of warm today. But yeah, it's been about a month and I've burned 2 phase cords of the maple and mulberry mix. So that's actually really good. I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, if you were considering a outdoor wood boiler and you want to go the gasification route, I would definitely consider the Central Boiler Classic Edge 760, or they have a 360, a 560, and a 760, and I believe there's a 960. But yeah, definitely really cool units. I still got to make a video on this. We got one coming up here soon that you'll see tomorrow from when I'm recording this. But I have to make another one of this, actually, like doing its cycle and everything, because I've been doing pretty good. It's a big learning experience, and I have had this thing running at 100% efficiency, which is what you want. So here, let's go back inside. So in another previous video, I wanted to put this on my dump trailer. Well, guess what? I think it'll look good here on my new toolbox. Let's put this bad boy on here. Tyler over at Bartlett Arbor Supplies sent me a care package, and it really didn't show up very well on my dump trailer because it was a black lettering, and I didn't realize that it was a clear back. So here we go. Bartlett is now on my toolbox, and this is another spot where I can put a bunch of stickers. I like it. Thank you, Tyler. So last time before I put this saw away, I did sharpen it. I did address the rakers already. So this saw is actually ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bar off. I'm going to clean this bar. I'm going to blow the saw out like I just did the 500i. And then I've got something new we're going to put on this. So again, same thing. I'm going to go through and clean the rail on this steel bar. And this is actually a semi-new bar. I think this is actually the one that came with the 500i. I don't know, I might have bought a new one since then. Clean the rail out, get all the gunk out of there. Take this thing, swipe away the nasty crap there, and then go to town blowing this thing. And I always blow away from the sprocket. That way I'm not blowing gunk into the sprocket. So I have been considering a air filter for this saw, but I suck at tuning carburetors. Last time I tried to tune this saw, I blew it up. I scored the piston, had to get a whole new, I guess that's the top end, rebuilt on this thing. And even right now, I really don't want to run it in the winter. I'll probably wait for it to get a little bit colder, and I'm going to take it somewhere and have them tune it, because I know when it gets colder, like, you got to do a little bit of high and low adjustments too. I don't know if that's super critical. If you know that answer, does this thing need to be tuned for wintertime? Let me know. I think it does, but that's just me probably being paranoid. But anyway, the reason I did all this is because I got a new bar. We're gonna kind of hang this one back up on the wall. I mean, I've got a ton of chains and a couple bars over there. But I picked up another bar at the Paul Bunyan show, and it is another tsumara. And this one actually looks like the Husqvarna bar. This is the premium light. I didn't really want the premium light. I wanted the one similar to the one I have on my 500i. But there is a noticeable difference in both of these. I mean, is it probably, I wouldn't say it's a pound difference, but there's definitely, you know, heavy ounces associated here. So let's go ahead and get this on here, and yeah, we'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Now I do the same thing with this saw. I get everything started, make sure it's on the sprocket on the back, and I make sure that the teeth are lined up here, and I just tighten the bar and let it, you know, let the chain come up to the bar to where it touches, and then I'll go ahead and put the clutch cover on, and we'll tighten it the rest of the way. I've got the bar nuts on here. We'll pull the bar up again. I pull the chain loose, And then we go in there and we tighten it. Gonna make sure it lines up. And I want to go just a little bit more. There we go. That's all I want to go. Now, if you're out in the field and things become loose, you notice that there's a gap in your chain, just stop, tighten it up. Running a loose chain will prematurely damage your bar, and it will damage your chain. So just go ahead and make sure things are snug at all times. Yes, it might be a pain and you might be in the groove and you just want to keep cutting, but I assure you, if you stop and you take the extra couple seconds, or even if it takes you 10 minutes, that actually might be a little too tight now. It is a little too tight. I'll go through and adjust that. But if you take the couple extra seconds or minutes and make sure that this is properly tightened where it needs to be, it will make everything last a lot longer and you'll be able to cut longer and be happier. Well, there we go. We've got the nice Tsumara premium light bar, and these look identical to the new light bars that Husqvarna has. So Tsumara must be making these for Husqvarna, these premium lights, because it looks identical. But as you noticed, the words are right side up. It's going to cut faster. Woo! All right, I am not going to fuel this one up and bar oil this one up because this one leaks, and it will completely fill up my bar cover. And it's funny because I guess it becomes a nose oiler itself, the nose sprocket, because the whole top end of this will just become completely filled with oil. But yeah, here we go. That's both things I wanted to take care of today. Let's get this back on the wall. One more Stihl, ready to go. So if you were ever curious of my very first chainsaw and who really inspired me to cut wood for myself, this right here is it. This was my grandfather's saw. And this is a Stihl 028 Wood Boss with the electronic quick stop. What that means, I have no clue. But this was the saw that I started doing everything with. Around here, when we first moved in, this was the saw that I cut wood with. When we lost my grandfather, my grandmother said, hey, do you want his saw? Nobody else is going to use it. And I said, of course, my mom. So I took it home. I ran the crap out of it. I blew it up. And last time I blew it up, I haven't really used it since then. I kind of just, I put it in here and I've let it sit for years. And that's probably the way it's going to be from here on out. I'm just going to let this one, let it be. There's no need for me to trash this saw, even though it's still a good saw. It ran good. Well, all right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, seeing how I maintenance my saws and clean the saws and put new bars on and all that stuff, and definitely flip the bar to where you can read the words right, because they do cut a lot faster. Next week is going to be all about bundles and bags. I've got a ton of bundles and a ton of bags that I need to make because they have been selling since my state has lifted the fire ban, and it has been getting a lot colder. I do have a lot of people in the area that don't want a whole truckload of wood. They prefer to get just a bundle of wood, or 2 or 3, since I do 3 for $20, and they sit on that instead of having a ton of wood around their house or their property, and they just enjoy coffee or tea or their adult beverages in the evening around their fireplace. But yeah, guys, take care of each other. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of the week, and I will catch you back here next time. Thanks, guys.